Good afternoon, Tom Dean. We have a special guest today on our YouTube channel, CanadianEstatePlanning.com. He's the author of two books. He wrote a book called Every Family's Business, and he also wrote a book called Willing Wisdom. And he's an international speaker, and he talk about family business and what's the importance of having a will. So I'm privileged to have you, Tom, and I'm very happy to have you in our YouTube channel. Welcome to our YouTube channel.
Well, great to be here, Lucky.
Yes,
It's a big subject, isn't it?
it is. It is, and I want you to tell me the statistics of in Canada. I know you do internationally, but
hmm
on in Canada, how many people you think have a current or legal will right now?
So the commonly accepted data on that question is 12.5 million Canadian adults.
Okay.
So those are people over 18.
Okay.
12.5 million Canadian adults do not have a will.
Oh, really? Oh my God. Okay.
And taken into the context of business owners, we know that roughly 50% of all business owners
Mhm.
are missing the most important document in an estate plan, and that's a will. So if you're a business owner and you don't have a will, which
Okay.
half of business owners in this country do not,
Oh my God. Okay.
then you do not have a succession plan. So we have a very dire situation in this country where many people procrastinate, they delay, and of course life happens, and then the chaos happens.
Chaos. So what's the downside if they don't have a legal will or a current will? What's the downsides of it? Because people don't understand. They said, you know what? Even if I die, I know my family will get my assets or my house or my business.
Well, they are correct.
Yes.
The problem with that is the province in which the person is living and dies
Okay.
has a formula for dividing up those family assets, and it is highly improbable that the formula, the provincial formula for dividing that person's asset,
Okay.
would be exactly the way that person would divide their assets. So a lot of people say, "Well, I don't have a will, but I've told my wife that I want her to get everything." Well, that's not a will. That's not a verbal will. The reality is the provincial formula will be applied.
Okay.
It will take a long time, much slower for the province, for the government to appoint an executor, a trustee,
Okay.
to then implement and administer the estate. So it is long, it's lengthy, and the reality is that people in the family will probably not get exactly the way the assets should be divided.
So I heard it's true or not. It took 24 months to 36 months to take to settle this estate settlements
hmm
and it take probate procedure going to take at least 3 years to be settling.
Correct.
It's true.
And I think that's shocking for most Canadians. I think most people think, well, my father died, he didn't have a will, and so the province will just immediately appoint someone next week, and I'll get a check maybe next month.
Okay.
It doesn't
It's
work
not
that
gonna happen.
it
Yes.
is going to take so much longer. Had someone just had a will and they appointed an executor, if you have a will, you have an executor, then it goes much quicker
Okay.
with a much less likelihood of people hiring lawyers, unhappy family members who find out that the provincial formula means that they get this and not that. And so people lawyer up, and then the disputes, families fighting. And we both know that if family end up in court, often
Yes.
at the end of that process, there's nothing to
They're gonna
divide.
pay probably around 20 to 30% of a legal fee,
Correct.
right? So
If not more.
yes,
Minimum.
more. Yeah, I'm saying just the average, right?
Correct.
Yes. So I know you create a Willing Wisdom
Yes.
on a platform. It's a software that going to help Canadians and outside of Canada, people also using that.
hmm
So can you tell me about and actually we call in our website is called estate planning assessment. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me about that. How you do come up with it? What's in it, and what Canadians should look at this and do themselves. These preparing themselves for estate planning purpose.
Well, I'm glad you asked the question, and I know that this tool that I'm going to describe
Yes.
is on your website.
Exactly.
So it's available.
It is.
You've made this
It's
available.
a complimentary.
Uh,
Actually, cost. You know that you you actually on the public side is mentioned that $199
Yes.
per person.
Yeah,
right?
so anyone who goes to your website and clicks on that assessment tool, you're giving them a $200 gift. So I mean, I don't understand why people wouldn't do it when they hear what this thing is. Here's what it is. Simple terms. The assessment tool is merely a checklist. So anyone who goes to your website, clicks on that link, they will invest 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and they will simply answer a series of questions. And at the end of that, they hit enter, and they get this beautiful report that explains exactly what things they need to decide, so that when they go to their lawyer to get a will, instead of it being a 3-hour meeting or a 2-hour meeting, it can be a 30-minute meeting, because they go in with answers. They go in saying, look, I want this, and I want this. And that's what the checklist does. It produces a report, a series of recommendations, so people can have much shorter meetings, much less expensive meetings with lawyers.
Exactly. So you're telling me that it's that checklist going to be that the roadmap going to show you what to prepare with the lawyer and any other people that they need to do it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And quite frankly, the lawyers love it. I mean, on the surface, it looks like the lawyer's going to charge less for a will, and they will, because the meetings will. Lawyers are selling their time.
Yes.
So when you shorten up those meetings, you end up, first of all, with a better will, because you're going in much better prepared, and you're going in with the name of your executor, the name of your backup executor, the name of your power of attorney, the name of your backup power of attorney. You have the correct spelling of their names. You've given some advanced thought to how you want your will to divide your assets. It's super efficient. And the lawyers actually do love it. The lawyers, quite frankly, the lawyers get frustrated when people come in and they don't know what a will is, and they got to go through and explain the basics. That's what this does. This assessment tool explains the basics of what a will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare directive are. Those three documents.
I know on the Willing Wisdom platform, I seen a 60 question. It's all yes or no, or maybe, something like that. It trigger a report that you're saying it's give you a guidance or roadmap on a platform that they could build their right will or power of attorney, or there's two power of attorney, one is personal, one is health. So this is going to be, you saying that they will get the right tools with the lawyer.
Exactly, they'll have the right answers, right? That by answering the questions honestly.
Okay.
And I should make the point that this is anonymous, right? So someone can, it asks for their first name, but they can call themselves Elvis. No one cares.
Yes.
So, and that part is key, because when people know that the questionnaire is truly private, they don't have to be ashamed by their answers. Exactly. It's not a competition. Yeah. It's about answering the questions honestly, and anonymously allows people to do that. And then they get their report. The more honest they are, the more valuable the report, because it will help them find the answers to the gaps and close the gaps in their estate plan. Yeah.
Makes sense. So tell me about there's a multiple will. They talk about multiple wills in some of the lawyers. Even I find out, I'm in the business for 20 years actually. I just find out recently, people, even they don't do even one will, but there's multiple will available for people, that one can be goes to probate, the other one won't be goes to probate. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I can talk very, very briefly on this, but this is really why I suggest, like, the Willing Wisdom Index is not about having people kind of
But you're highly recommending it, a will, but I just want to know, people have to get not only one will, maybe they might thinking about adding another will.
But certainly, so let's just, for sake of reducing confusion, first of all, I get this all the time. People sit down, a husband and wife sit down, and they do the Willing Wisdom checklist together. And I'm thinking, no. Some people, some women, for example, would say, I don't need a will, my husband has one. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. No. Same thing with the index. Everyone goes, if you're over 18, you need to go and answer this, right? This is for every individual. So same thing. for a business owner, this is really where the dual will comes in.
Yes.
So if you're a business owner, now there's evolving case law on this. There's
Yeah.
been some challenges to this, and every province in Canada is different. This is why people should take the index and go see a lawyer.
Exactly.
Okay, so the thought is that if you put your business assets into one will, it will remain outside probate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, tell me actually, in a will, if they want to add a small thing, I even noticed this. It's called codicil. It's very they could even them do it themselves, or they could go to the lawyer. It's a piece of paper, like they could add a beneficiary, or they want to add something. That's also you are recommending them, or you are recommending having a new will. What's your
I think it
thoughts?
really, well, it's a really great question. I think it really depends on the nature of the change,
Okay.
and a lawyer would be able to give someone some good advice on
Yeah.
on the magnitude and the volume of changes. Like if
Yes.
it's just one small change, but by adding lots of new beneficiaries or changing the complexity or adding a trust, you probably may want to revisit the original document itself and perhaps just write a new will as opposed to an update, codicil, as you
So
suggest.
there is three type of will can be created. One, you could get a legal will done by the lawyer.
Hmm.
There is you could even do your self will. As two witnesses have to be signed by that, and you also have to do affidavit of execution on that. Plus, there's another one called a homographic will. So right now, I know the third homographic will, most of the province court won't even consider that anything. But what do you think about I'm just asking you a question about
Hmm.
legal will done by the lawyer, and the other one is done by themselves, or they could buy online will. What do you think about that? Because people are confused about it.
Right. So a holographic will is usually what people are referring to as when they do it themselves. They
Yes.
sit down and holographic means
Handwritten.
they're handwriting their will.
Yes.
And I would really encourage people not to do that.
Yes.
We are talking about taking your entire life's work,
Yeah.
and instead of getting proper legal advice, so many people sit down, often just before they do a major trip, before they go on a plane, right? And there's been so many accidents that people are getting
Exactly.
nervous about flying. Kobe Bryant being the most recent
Yes,
example.
exactly. Yeah.
But of course, the accident in Iran, not an accident. So people are very sensitive, hypersensitive around travel right now. So that is often the triggering event for people to get serious.
Serious. Okay.
And instead of planning and getting proper legal advice, they're sitting down with a piece of paper and they're writing this stuff out themselves and they're making mistakes. And you know what the most common mistake is, Lucky? What they do is they name, say, their children as beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're usually doing this at home, they ask their children to then witness those handwritten wills.
It's not acceptable.
Now it's not acceptable. Now your will, you just wasted your time. That will is now null and void. So really basic holographic wills often create more problems than they're solving. So my advice, I'll keep coming back to this, is the checklist is not about avoiding lawyers.
Yes.
It's about having better meetings with lawyers and shorter meetings with lawyers and more productive meetings with lawyers, making better quality decisions. And that's what this tool that you're making available for free is really going to accomplish.
So tell me about most of the family members, most of the testator, they are appointing a family member, brother, sister, or their children as executor. And executor doesn't have experience to handle the
Right?
estate. And you've been through, I think I want you to share your own thoughts, and I think you've been through your father's business. I heard before on your seminar. Um, and they don't have the experience to handle that estate. And what do you think about how you could choose the right executor? How these people have to determine this person is the right person to handle this, all the executive
Mm.
decision making and all.
And that's really what's going to be in the report that they receive. The really practical steps, teaching them why it's important to have a family meeting. Do you know there are tens of thousands of people across this country who have been named by their parents as executors and they have no idea? There's been no conversation. So when a parent dies, often people are finding out for the first time that they're the executor. And often their brothers and sisters are finding out at the exact same time, while they're grieving, that they have not been listed as executors. So while people are grieving the death of a parent, they find out that one person is in charge of dividing the estate. And they don't understand the role. And they think that their parents love their one child more, who was appointed the executor because they've been accorded some special status.
Yes.
And this is pulling families, it's tearing families apart. And part of what the Willing Wisdom Index, this tool that you're making available, is doing is it's helping people understand that estate planning is really about communication. That when we keep our estate plan secret, very seldom do families thrive on secrets.
Okay.
Really great, successful families find a way of talking about money in an open, trusting way. And that's how great families not only make money, but actually transition wealth efficiently and effectively from generation to generation, not through surprises.
So, in a nutshell, I want to ask you this: how many testators they are talking to their family members, like they call it like a family meeting, and bringing their financial advisor, they're bringing their lawyers, they're bringing their accountants, and sitting in one table and talk about this estate planning, and because they have assets and they want to talk about who going to get who and how the minimizing their taxes or where the legal aspect comes up. So how many people you think you do you know any statistics like family meeting happening like this in Canada?
The statistics are really hard to find on that, but
Okay.
what I can tell you is right now,
Okay.
there are many, many families, right this instance,
Okay.
as we're speaking,
Yes.
who are doing just that.
Oh yeah. Good.
It's just underreported.
Yes.
Very few people are going to want to read a story about a family who meets once a year with their advisor and talks openly and builds plans and makes sure that everyone's got a will and they're sharing their documents and making sure that when life unfolds, and it does for all of us,
Yes.
that family is ready. That meeting is happening right now, but not very not as often as it should.
Okay.
And so what's happening is that the really great advisors, the really smart advisors, are understanding that picking investments, that's a commodity.
Yeah.
Like that is not the game anymore. But the advisors who are adding value to their clients' lives by helping them with estate planning and cash flow planning and saving for retirement, all those extra little added value services, like a family meeting,
Yes.
they are getting that family ready for the intergenerational wealth transfer. So every single day in this country, $205 million is inherited.
Oh my God.
Today, 205 million. Tomorrow, 205 million. 205, 205,
Every
200,
day.
every single day. It is a massive amount of money. And the really smart advisors know that unless they have family meetings, the kids are inheriting $205 million today.
It is.
And you know what they're doing? They're packing up and leaving.
Oh God.
They're leaving because they don't know the advisor. This is so simple, it's embarrassing. But very few advisors are truly reaching out in a material way to get to know the next generation. But that's exactly what family meetings do. So the really smart advisors, and there are some really smart advisors
Yes.
who have been doing this for years.
Yes.
They're just not talking about it because that's their competitive advantage.
Exactly.
And they're collecting families of clients, like not just mom and dad, but the kids and the grandkids. They're all part of the same advisory network. They're all getting the same advice. And the advisor is playing a central role in the smooth, tax-efficient transition of that wealth.
So tell me about if they don't plan anything about estate planning. Estate planning, actually, I call it before they die. Even they could be unhealthy, they're not capable of mentally, not capable of doing something. They still have to have power of attorney on certain things have to be done properly. And after care, after death, and who's going to be handling their estate and how can they minimize their tax aspect of it and all is given out. And I know you went through my website. um, what do you think in the future these things going to be implemented through our Canadian residents? That's my concern about it, because I create this website called CanadianEstatePlanning.com. I put divided into two section, before and after care, and I think you went through this website and
It's
you
excellent.
highly
Yeah.
recommend it. What do you think about this going to be going towards? Because I also create a software for the aftercare, canceling all the documents, everything. That's going to be a bread and butter, and they could do easy, fast, and stress-free manner, and they do good. So, what do you think about that? It's going to be implemented in our Canadian residents.
Well, I think it's brilliant, and I think it's going to. And what makes it brilliant is it's going to help people. Like it's going to. There is a lot of suffering right now. There's a
Yes.
lot of families in chaos, and they think they're the only ones that are going through this, grieving and documents over here and insurance products over here, and they don't know the advisor, and they don't have the phone number. To be an executor in that situation, and you're related to the person, so you've got your own grieving,
Yes.
and you're trying to pull all this stuff together quickly
Yes.
and file the last tax return, and you don't know where things are,
Yes.
and it is just it's crazy.
It is crazy.
So you're making this easy.
And I'm also selling some documents like testator, create a document, 52-page document, all this information like what you mentioned, uh, who's the financial advisor, who's the accountant, who's the lawyer, where's their documents are located, and passwords, and all the assets, all the liability, everything in one document. And it's going to be more easier for the executor to look for and implement their estate planning.
Yeah, and in the absence of that,
Yes.
a lot of people who aren't hiring their own family members or appointing their own family members as executor
Yes.
are giving up between 3 and 6% to a trust company.
Oh my God, that's huge money.
Yeah, so a lot of people are spending a lot of time trying to avoid probate, the government tax apply, which is roughly 1.5%. It's a sliding scale on assets.
In Ontario,
But people
yes.
are missing the really large one. Is the much larger tax is, first of all, no will and chaos. Now you're hiring lawyers like crazy to sort out all this mess,
Yes.
as opposed to being organized like you're helping people do.
Yes, yes.
Or they're paying huge professional executor fees.
Yeah.
I say, spend a little bit of money, work with your advisor, find a really good advisor who can bring your family together and share your documents now, explain who is going to be the executor, set the executor up to succeed while you're alive,
Exactly.
thinking clearly. That is just smart.
It is.
That's
It
just
is.
smart.
No, they know the roadmap. Even they are not there, at least they are giving a roadmap where to go.
Right.
Right? So
And
that's the thing we want implemented.
I think that's part of leaving a really big legacy.
It is.
A really great legacy is not just leaving lots of money.
Yeah.
But people don't remember people for money.
No.
They remember how conscientious and thoughtful and wise they were to have these documents, like you've prepared,
Yes.
available to their family, so that the family will just, the last thing they'll remember is, he was amazing, or my mother was amazing. She was so organized. She didn't want us to fight. She didn't want us to have to scramble and go and dig for all this stuff. She was organized. She filled out this 52-page form, and she just laid it out beautifully for us.
Yes.
What a great gift. That's a legacy.
It's a legacy.
That is a legacy.
That's the thing I want. Even my mission and vision, it's clearly indicated on our website, and we want to be upfront with people. Say, we are not here to do business. We want to give legacy to you, right? And we are guiding a lot of way to implement the full estate planning. People say they're doing estate planning, but I don't know if they're doing it in a full-fledged. But in our case, we want to do it in a full-fledged, and that's why you are part of our platform on the Willing Wisdom, because I get all the good pieces together, putting in one website, giving everything that they need to have.
Now, you've made it very easy.
Yes. So what's your final thoughts about Will and your software, and also how you feel about our website?
Well, first of all, I would say, there's a lot of superstition around this subject.
Yes.
And what I like about what you've done on your website is it says, look, just because you get organized, and you're making it easy for people to get organized, and you're bringing families together. That does not mean you're going to die sooner. It actually, I think, in fact, I know that it is the first step to extending your life and improving the quality of your life. Because when you talk to your family about your estate plan and you take away the secrecy and you get organized and you start talking not only just about what happens when you're not here, but it actually answers the question, who is going to take care of me when I'm old? Where will I live? Because the conversation around a healthcare directive is a conversation about late in life care and aging, and
that's actually getting worse and worse now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I just think that what you've done on your website is so important, is so valuable. It is so helpful because it is making it easy and accessible for every Canadian to leave a proud, strong, united family.
Yes.
That is the greatest legacy of all. It's a great gift you're giving the people of this country.
Yeah. So I'm really fortunate, like I'm very happy and thrilled actually I had you today. You know, you wrote 2 books to open people's eyes. Again, I want to re-emphasize, one is Every Family Business and the other one is Willing Wisdoms. And he also created a platform of called Willing Wisdom platform, that's going to help a lot of Canadians to prepare their estate planning ahead. And also I want to re-emphasize our website called CanadianEstatePlanning.com. Our email address is info@CanadianEstatePlanning.com, and our toll-free 100 number is 1-866-961-8655. Please subscribe our YouTube channel, Canadian Estate Planning. It's going to help you to educate yourself, and every weeks we're going to be bringing a new topic to educate you about estate planning. Thanks a lot. And any final thoughts on this?
If people are interested in getting a copy of the book, it's available at willingwisdom.com, which is the title of the book.
It's only $24.95.
$24.95.
Yes, it's very cheap, and I think a lot of information you will gather there.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Lucky.